part of Locked On Sports Atlanta on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
To the Hawks Postcast, your home for the best Atlanta Hawks talk. It's quick hitting local insight after every game you can't get anywhere but right here at Locked On. I'm your host, Tenitra Batiste. Alongside me is NBA and college basketball analyst DeShaun Tate. And the Hawks Postcast is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. So the Hawks were looking to bounce back at home against the Philadelphia 76ers and did. We'll talk turning point and give you our takes on how the Hawks got the 120-117 win tonight. And Tate, you said we have the mob to thank.
And that we do, Tenitra, and I'll tell you exactly why. I think it's easy for us to go and look at the scoring differential between the two benches, where the Atlanta Hawks outscored Philly 34-9, but also how efficient this team was in its shooting. Big thanks to Vit Krejci, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And major contributions, as we know, that game by game, kind of similar to last year with Zachary Risachet, Asa Newell is kind of slowly being worked into, just a bigger role, if you will, especially without some players playing in the front court. But I think that that's just major. As Onyeka Okongwu has to make a step up, somebody else has to make a step up. I know it's very cliche to talk about next man up, but when you're out there doing it, not just doing it, but doing it all season long, Nickeil Alexander having to step up in the spot, Onyeka Okongwu having to step up in the spot, Mohamed Gay having to step up into a spot. It's just kind of been that way all season long. I don't think we've referenced it nearly as much or enough in some instances, but it's kind of a good thing because of the fact that we've gotten so accustomed to them just doing what they do, and actually one of the better benches in the NBA in terms of its contribution and production over the course of the last year or two, very close to almost 3 years now. But not only just the efficiency from its scoring and things like that, but also from a standpoint of its rebounding. When you're able to get the 4 rebounds that you're able to get out of guards like Luke Kennard, Vit Krejci, who's maybe not a forward, but not necessarily a guard, plays more of a guard role because of his shooting on offense. But all those things are big. I'm really huge on rebounding, especially from the guard position, and offensive rebounding, which they did a good job on tonight, especially when you have big guys like Embiid and Drummond in the game doing what they do.
Yeah. And those offensive rebounds that you mentioned, of course, are a big part of the reason that the Hawks were able to score much better with second chance points tonight, the way that they did with 23 of those. And like you mentioned, Asa Newell also with 4 boards, but being able to get a combined 14 rebounds out of your bench mob, your 2.0 unit, if you will, or your second unit, that's always a good thing because that takes that pressure off of the starting 5, if you will. That's right. I think one of the things that you mentioned, just in terms of how efficient Vit Krejci was, he was 6 of 9 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3 in just 26 minutes of playing time, and really kind of was a part of that early run, setting that stage, putting up the kind of points that he put up early, 11 points on like perfect shooting in just 6 minutes. And of course, again, that was earlier in the game. He finished with 19. So yeah, a huge contribution from the bench, particularly Vit Krejci. But as you mentioned, it's also important with Asa Newell and his 9 points, his 4 rebounds, his 2 assists, because maybe that's his sweet spot, playing 14 minutes. He's been hovering around 20-21. And as you get him more acclimated to the NBA game, more acclimated to Quinn Snyder's system, maybe hovering in that 14 to 15 minute space is kind of the better space for him. But also, I think it just adds to what the rest of this team was able to do and is able to do, which is kind of piggybacking on what you said. Such a turnaround from what we saw Friday night, where literally we talked about the fact that you can't put that much pressure on Onyeka Okongwu or Jalen Johnson, just individually or collectively as the front court for this team, and expect them to win. Everybody has to crash the boards. And it seemed like everybody understood the assignment tonight. So that was my take, that they're big board killers. Like the Hawks really, really got after it. And here's the thing, the final numbers don't necessarily tell the tale, because they only out-rebounded Philadelphia 57-54. But the point is that you said earlier, when you're dealing with the likes of Joel Embiid and Andre Drummond, that means everybody has to be able to bang in there. Or if a ball is kicked out and there's a fight and Onyeka's under trying to fight for the ball, then that means the rest of you guys need to be a little bit away from the basket in case that rebound is out, or if there's a three that's shot and that three is missed, somebody's got to get that long rebound. Everybody seemed like they were getting after it tonight, had a chance to get down to the arena, and just to be able to see, of course, Jalen Johnson had another one of his triple doubles, but efficiency was the name of the game for him as it relates to the defensive side. Not a great night offensively, but defensively, he was right in there making sure that his presence was felt. 10 boards for him. Onyeka Okongwu, 15 boards for him. And I love what you said earlier, backcourt play. Dyson Daniels with 10 rebounds. That is absolutely huge. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker right there with him with 7 rebounds. So again, everybody, whether it was the bench, whether it was 4 out of 5 starters, Zachary Risachet, we need you to pick up the pace a little bit. 15 points is good.
Yeah.
1 point is not so much, but everybody else really understood the assignment that, hey, rebounding matters.
Well, I think that's what it's all about, Tenitra, is just that the group effort. When you don't have, Trae, and a lot of people think, what's going to happen? We're supposed to be a team that's supposed to be contending for better than what we've seen the last few years. Right. Contending type spot. And then you don't have Trae, who's obviously your catalyst. You don't just have Jalen Johnson, who steps up, which is now his 6 out of 14 games with a triple double, four of those being consecutive, I think.
Yeah, exactly. At least a double, if not a triple double.
Exactly. Yep. And not even necessarily on an outstanding offensive night. You start talking about Dyson Daniels. We've been sitting back and kind of waiting on Dyson to get back to, we've seen some flashes this year, and we know about who he is on defense. But I think one of the most impressive things about last year was how good he was offensively. That took some people by surprise. We haven't seen that as much this year. This year, we did get a chance to see it on tonight. He's getting between the teeth of the defense. He's coming up with that teardrop. We know that the jump shot is not falling from perimeter, so we know that he has to put himself in position to get the defense on its heels, getting penetration downhill a little bit. I don't know how many layups that he had on tonight. His shot selection has never really been questionable, with a high IQ, and has very minimal errors as well. I'm just really glad to see that despite or regardless of whatever the outcome was tonight, I was really happy to see that it appears that Dyson Daniels has kind of re-emerged, if you will.
Yeah, and just at the perfect time, because he is slowly but surely about to get his backcourt partner in crime back. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But first, going back to Jalen Johnson, and as you mentioned, the 4 straight triple doubles, and and those first 2 were like maddening, like 21 points, 18 boards, 15 assists, 30 points, 12 boards, 12 assists. And then the last 2, 19, 11, and 12 tonight, 12, 10, and 12. Why is that so important? Because the backcourt for this Atlanta Hawks team is going to take another hit for at least 2 weeks. We got confirmation today from the team that Kristaps Porzingis will miss the next 2 weeks and undergo further evaluations while dealing with that recent illness that we've alluded to for a while now. They wanted to just make sure that they prioritize his health, of course, for the rest of the season. He's already missed 7 of his past 9 games. And it was a diagnosis for him was postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which is known as POTS, which is basically an autoimmune system issue. It started last season with him, and doctors had been working throughout the summer to kind of find solutions for it. But unfortunately, it seems like a recent bout has sidelined him. So really, we kind of saw him have those ups, right? We saw him averaging 19 points, almost 6 boards, almost 2 blocks in his 13 games this season. But then you saw a couple of those games, especially of late, where he was limited more to what he did last season with Boston, where he averaged under 8 points, under 5 boards, just 21 minutes in 11 playoff games for the Celtics in particular. So definitely we hope and wish, and of course our thoughts and prayers are with Kristaps Porzingis, because we know what kind of a force he is when he absolutely is in there. But that definitely means that, hey, for the next 2 weeks, as this team also awaits the return of their floor general, when they look at what the front court is going to have to do, everybody's going to have to step up in the absence of Porzingis.
You didn't see me rolling my eyes when you was running that off, did you, Tenitra? You didn't possibly happen. And I don't want to be the negative Nancy, but you already kind of know how I feel, unless you've been living under a rock. People watching would also, viewers would also know exactly how I feel. Do I want him to come back and, of course, wish him the best and all that good stuff? Of course. But am I confident? Absolutely not.
Yeah. Because it's an autoimmune disease. I mean, when something hits your autoimmune,
that makes it different. Yeah. That makes it different. And that makes it different. And that's fair. But a little piece of me still feels a little bit about the way that I feel. Yeah. Just hoping that he gets back sooner than later. And when he finally does come back, I want to see the Kristaps Porzingis that we kind of highly anticipated when we found out that he was going to be Atlanta Hawk. Fair?
Oh, I think that's very fair. I think that there was always a tempered excitement when we found out that Kristaps
Good word.
Yeah. So this is just kind of par for the course as far as, we definitely wish him well, but it just sort of falls into that area where we were already a bit concerned when we heard about it and whether or not it would really be a turning point for this team. But what was a turning point for this team was how they started tonight. And we'll talk about it. This episode of our Hawks Postcast is brought to you by Wayfair. The holidays always show up faster than we expect. And if you're still putting together gifts, last-minute decor, or getting your home ready for guests, Wayfair has you covered. Whether you need a quick room refresh, new bedding, or those final seasonal touches, Wayfair makes it easy to get what you need fast. Wayfair truly is your one-stop shop for everything home, with decor, furniture, kitchen essentials, and gifts for every style and every budget, all delivered quickly and easily. So choose whichever you want. I mean, the selection is huge. Bedding, decor, kitchen gear, kids' room updates. I mean, you're able to find everything in one place. In fact, right now, I am redecorating one of my bedrooms, and I'm really excited about the whole bedding thing, because I think that just a little switch up like you can get from Wayfair can make a world of difference. And here's the cool deal about Wayfair. No massive delivery fees, so there's no stress. And it's the best way to get your home holiday ready without running around to all the different stores like I was doing before I got wise and got Wayfair. So get last-minute hosting essentials, gifts for all your loved ones, and decor to celebrate the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. This episode of our Hawks Postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. And you can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. This episode of our Hawks Postcast is brought to you by Rougiette. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. Well, we've all rather heard it before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. And if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. So visit RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. Thank you for making the Hawks Postcast your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And we can see that our everydayers are excited for the Hawks to be back in the win column. And one of the big reasons is because they set the tone early. And that starting point tonight was the turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
DeShaun, this game started with a Nickeil Alexander-Walker three-pointer, followed by a three from Onyeka Okongwu, and then another one, maybe the most important one for Dyson Daniels because of the struggles he's had at the offensive end of the court. Then the Hawks went on a 15-6 run at the end of the first quarter. Only 2 turnovers after you and I saw that they had 5 turnovers in the first quarter Friday night, 7 in the second quarter, ended the game with 20 turnovers, and we saw a marked difference in where the Hawks landed tonight. And I really think because they kind of set that tone early and said, hey, we're going to play as efficient a brand of basketball as we possibly can. We're going to protect the ball tonight like we did not do. Only 12 turnovers to end the game. And we're going to start off shooting efficiently and effectively from the perimeter. And of course, that means they ended with 50% shooting from 3. I really think even though this was a tight game, it was back and forth, that it was definitely a battle against the Philadelphia 76ers. I still feel like the Hawks set that tone early.
Setting the tone is exactly what they did. And I don't think that, there's many instances where we could say that they did that many times this year. Sometimes they kind of fall behind, and when you're missing key contributors and things like that, of course, those are the kind of things that happen. Yeah. First of all, round of applause, standing ovation for us not having to talk about at least one piece of our big 3 nearly as much as we did last year, being efficient shooting, specifically from the perimeter, 50% on the night. Fantastic. Shooting it better from the free throw line as well. Fantastic. So I definitely want to give the flowers when we don't, have to keep talking about the same things over and over like the team's running on a rat wheel. But also defending home court, something that they haven't done well this year. Now, they haven't played at home very often, but when they have, they also didn't play very well. So definitely want to give them credit for doing that, not just against another professional basketball team, but one that I expected to take some strides and steps in the right direction, and in position to be playoff contenders to some degree. Being the Philadelphia 76ers, against one of the best bigs in the NBA, against one of the best wings on both sides of the ball in the NBA, against one of the best rookies in the NBA. And you have to start doing that from the what else? Start. So when it starts in the first quarter, you have to set that tone. You have to be able to essentially play with your pace and force them into the way that you like to play. And I thought that they did a fine job on that tonight right out the gate. A lot of times they have to come back in games and try to maybe call a timeout early to try to make some adjustments. Quinn Snyder has to do things like that. Didn't really have to have that too many times on tonight, even when they were substituting Andre Drummond in, and he was just seemed like he was killing the team. And vjedgecombe was another one. Paul George was another one. They kind of stayed steady with continuing to do what we know that they do. And it was just good to see that happened from start. Even if the game was tight from beginning to end, they did it from the very beginning. And I was really happy, if not nothing else, to see that they were persistent with it.
Yeah, because it was one of those games where, hey, the Hawks don't have Kristaps Porzingis. Sixers don't have Tyrese Maxey. So who's going to be able to weather the storm without one of their key contributors there? And the Hawks did a great job. And of course, the ultimate contributor, the field general, they haven't had him, didn't have him tonight, but got that good word from the Hawks that Trae Young will be returning to practice tomorrow. I think that is an excellent, excellent piece of news that we wanted to share with you guys. And I just think that's overall, that means that congratulations to the Hawks first of all, for being able to tread water for as long as they have without.
That's for real.
Yeah, because they're still 15-12 on the season. And yeah, they're in ninth place, but we all know from 3 to 10 and 3 to 12 in the Eastern Conference, it changes on a dime. I mean, the Sixers came in fourth place tonight. Now they're in seventh. So you can't really look at those standings per se this soon, but you can look at the record and the fact that they have a winning record. They're 3 games above 500 without Trae. Just to know that he's on the comeback trail, I think is a positive for them too.
I agree with that. And it doesn't get anything but better. You know, sometimes when I feel like, you know, if it doesn't hurt, it can only help. And having somebody like a Trae Young, as much as people are going to come with their narratives, and we already know what those are, there's no question that number 11 does nothing but help basketball teams win games. And in the position that they're in, you know, I get it, the playoffs isn't about to start tomorrow or anything like that, but just in the position that they're in, treading water, bench players stepping up, guys having season best scoring games like Dyson tonight, Nickeil Alexander-Walker having his best year of his career. I think we could say the same thing probably about Onyeka Okongwu. Being a plug-and-play player, I think is nothing but just really positive things. Now that number 11 is coming back, I expect for that to increase.
Yeah. Well, once again, we appreciate you guys. Like Robert said, it's always great talking about wins. Shout out to you, Robert. We appreciate you and our everydayers for making this Hawks Postcast the number one place to hang out after every game. And of course, we are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And for more on the Hawks, head over to Locked On Hawks with our guy, Brad Rowland. We will see you next time.